Easy choices equal a harder life. Harder choices will equal an easier life long term.
What a coach does is he says, well, we've made this decision. This is why we're doing it. Reminds me why I'm doing this and tells me, get up, and get it done. And then that's been like the massive change for me.
And then at the end of that session, I was literally like, oh my God, I need to know how to do that.
And because you're a few steps ahead of me, you're telling me about the potential pitfalls and blockers and things like that might just cause me some problems, and be aware of them.
There was something, I don't know what it was about what you were doing, but it really resonated with me of being like, actually, I need that. It was kind of like, I need a bit of a kick up the bum, and I need to be accountable to someone that's not going to let me off the hook.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Rich in Success podcast, the show that brings you motivation, education, and inspiration on how you can live a happier, healthier, more successful, and more fulfilling life. Unfortunately, I join you via the medium of Zoom this episode, as I did recently test positive for the dreaded coronavirus. I feel fine. I feel okay. It's a little bit of a cold, but obviously I've got to be mindful not to infect others that may not get off so lightly. So I'm doing it via Zoom. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, as we come towards the end of the year. Everybody that's supported the show, everybody that's been listening, everybody that's been sharing the episodes, and everybody that's been an advocate for what it is that we're trying to do here at Rich in Success. Our mission, our vision, to help as many people as physically possible. And I think this is a really, really important episode that I'm proud to have done because it's a little bit different this week. This week, I'm joined by two of my clients, two of the people that I've been coaching. That's Assad Munir and also Sarah Carter, both of which have been with me a considerable amount of time. I think with Assad, I've been coaching him for over a year now, and Sarah Carter around 6 months, and both of which are also coaches themselves. Now, I've entitled this episode, The Secret to Success, because I believe that really when you study successful people, you'll always find that one of the commonalities for the vast majority of them is they've had the correct guidance, they've had the correct mentors, they've had the correct coaches in their corner. And I believe that that really is one of the secrets to achieving at a high level. You know, if you try and do everything completely alone, it's going to take you much longer, it's going to be much harder, and often you'll achieve much less than if you'd have had the right support. And I just want to bring more awareness really to what life coaching is. And how it can benefit people, because I believe still in particular in the UK, it's massively misunderstood. And I wanted to share with you on this episode two of the fantastic up and coming coaches that I've been working with, so that you can hear about what they do, but also so you can hear about their experience in being coached themselves. So as always, I hope you take a lot of value from this episode. Please do enjoy episode 155. This is The Secret to Success with Assad Munir and Sarah Carter. And just before we dive straight into today's Rich in Success podcast episode, I wanted to share with you what becoming a Rich in Success member could actually do for your life. Now, if you're somebody that is at a point where you're serious about positive change, whether that be in your health, your well-being, your mindset, your business, your career, your finances, or your relationships, the Rich in Success membership is perfect for you. For just £39 a month, you get access to over 40 training videos where I'll be taking you through everything from goal setting. We'll be looking at high performance habits. We'll be looking at different changes you can make to your mindset and your attitude that are going to be able to propel you to have more success in every single area of your life. And in addition to these training videos, every month you will get a live group coaching call with me where you can ask me any questions about the content or about things that you're going through in your life so that I can help you personally as your coach. And as well as that, there will be exclusive bonus interviews with experts in a variety of fields. I'm bringing together the best minds, the best experts from all around the world to give you access to the very best content to help you move forward in your life. All this for just £39 a month, reoccurring subscription that you can cancel at any time. To become a Rich in Success member today, please click the link below or head on over to richinsuccess.com where you can sign up there, and I will look forward to seeing you in the exclusive members area very soon. Okay, Sarah Carter. Assad, I'm not going to introduce you. I want you to introduce yourselves. I also want to just start by saying thank you so much for being here, because you're two people that I admire massively. I always say, and you guys know this, that as a coach, we're only as good as our clients, because we can give people perspective, we can give people strategy, we can give people motivation, encourage them. But ultimately, results come from action. And you two are fantastic examples of people who aren't perfect. You've had struggles, and it's important I say that. We've had our own adversities along the way, but you've kept on showing up consistently, being coachable, being open-minded, and the results now are really starting to come. And I thought that as we come towards the end of the year, it was a great time to bring you two onto this show, to give people insight, because I think it's really easy for me to bring, guests that are from the TV and all the rest of it. I think you two are going to be more relatable because you're much earlier on your journey, but the levels of success, in particular internally, that you've both started to achieve is more powerful and impactful to listen to. So I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to hand over to you. I'll start with Sarah, then Assad. Just tell the listeners, who are you and why are you here today?
Who am I? I'm Sarah, and I'm the mindset coach. And in all fairness, it took me a long time to be able to say that without going, oh my gosh. But no, I'm the mindset coach. I started looking into the world of mindset at the beginning of lockdown, and I'll go back to then because I am actually a figure skating coach as well. And I specialise in teaching people with learning difficulties and physical difficulties. So I'm an inclusive skating coach, and I'm the Team GB head coach for inclusive skating, which is absolutely amazing, and I love that. But being able to bring the mindset side of things now into what I do is paying off exponentially, absolutely paying off. We've just had a World Championships, and my team have done exceptionally well. So that's kind of me, and that's my journey into mindset. But yeah, I can quite confidently say I'm Sarah and I'm the mindset coach.
And I know how much of a big deal that is alone from where we were 6 months ago. Assad, neither you or me want to follow that. She's just oh, brilliant. Cheers, Sarah. So I just want to say, Assad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I made Sarah go first. Equally a powerful person in your own right, equally somebody that's achieving a lot of personal success and now going to start to grow from that and deliver that to other people and help other people. Tell them about yourself, Assad.
Hi guys, thanks Matt for having us on. My name is Assad and I am a professional and personal life coach. I can say that now because I'm qualified as well to help people out. I've been, like you said, on my own personal journey, so I've learned a lot. And in that journey, I've been able to transform myself, in terms of my body, my finances, get out of debt, as well as then just kind of in a position now where I'm also have properties that I rent out as well. So it's a real transformation that I've gone through, and I'm here to help other people out as well. And that's what I really like to and love to do. So that's a bit about myself. Yeah.
So one of the reasons I wanted to get you both on the show is, a lot of people listen to this podcast, weekly or dip in and out of it as and when they need that bit of motivation. And something that I'm really passionate about doing is educating people on the power of investing in coaching. Obviously, it's something I do. It's something you guys do. And we all do it because first and foremost, we invested in getting a coach ourselves. And I just feel like in the UK in particular, there's still a lot of confusion about what a life coach is and a business mentor. And it's kind of like, why do we need one? And things like that. So I think a really good place to go is just take it right back to the beginning. And I'd love to know, for you two individually, what first got you into the journey of personal development? What was your experience of it? And why did you go to that next step of actually employing a coach?
Well, I'll answer for me first, if that's all right. Lockdown kind of happened, and happened to everybody. But at the time, I very much felt like it had happened to me, because one day I was in the rink and the next day I wasn't, and my entire business stopped. And for the first month, I really didn't know what to do with myself, because at that point, I wasn't a figure skating coach. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I actually going to do? And I know someone who is an excellent NLP coach and NLP trainer. And she did a session with me and some work with me. And at the beginning of that session, I went into it really, really sad. And it makes me feel a little bit emotional, actually, because I went into that session really, really sad, and I had no idea what it was going to be like or what was going to happen. And then at the end of that session, I was literally like, oh my God, I need to know how to do that. It was just that quick. And coming from a coaching background, sports coaching background, I know how difficult it can be sometimes to take people from one place to another place. And it was so fast, the change that I felt, it was just an instant, I need to learn how to do that. I need to learn how to make people feel that quickly. So for me, that was kind of my starting point. And then I did my master practitioner. Actually, it's been almost a year to the date since I've completed my master practitioner. So I did practitioner first and master practitioner. So that's NLP coaching, timeline therapy, and hypnosis, which is awesome. I didn't think I was going to like hypnosis. Completely hard cards on the table. Didn't think I was going to like it. Absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
What's the reason? Like, why did you think you wouldn't like it, and what was the surprise?
I thought it was going to be a little bit hippy dippy and a little bit like, oh, I've got to do it because it's on the course. And I was a bit like, I don't know. And there was a bit of like crystals and stuff. And I was like, I'm not sure, but I've got to do it anyway. It's fine. And I just found it was so relaxing. And to be honest, I run a hypnosis-based relaxation class. And that's one of my highest. People always come back for that one because it's so relaxing, and you can get out of it what you want to get out of it, even though it's a group-based class. And I just find it really calming to deliver that group as well, and seeing the people change as the group progresses through the course. So it is one of my favorite things to do now.
And I think that's a really important point you've raised there, because it's that open-minded approach to try stuff. And I think that's ultimately what personal development and life coaching and all these things we talk about today, it's having the open mind to at least give it a shot. I think that's the important point. What about for you, Assad?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the same. And Sarah, your journey is amazing. I think turning that around so quick, it's something that we're all kind of inspired to, and making those changes isn't easy. And that I can say that from my personal experience, because my personal development kind of journey started a long time ago, and I never felt kind of right in where I was, in terms of building a career at work. I'm in the tech industry, so the ladder is there and the skills, you just have to, it's like conveyor belt, you keep going through. And I'm thinking there is more to life than this, and I need there has to be more. It can't just be this, and you know, retiring at 60, 70 years old, and you know, living off a pension. More has to be more than this. So I think that's where I had that kind of itch to kind of look out, branch out in terms of what else is there. And you probably, as a lot of people do, kind of stumbled on like personal development, looking at things on the internet, YouTube, and you know, what have you. And I think, you know, early on I stumbled on like the big guy, Tony Robbins. So if you're ever in personal development, you know, everyone knows about him. And I think that's where my journey started, in kind of just learning about how it's done. And you know, watching videos and things like that. But as we all know, you can't do things just from a distance, from watching videos, from try to just learn from that and try to apply it, because you know, there's probably no accountability, and there's no one to keep you on track, and when you've got questions and no one's there to answer those. So and I think, you know, taking that next step for me was what you mentioned about, you know, the UK, you know, kind of industry, UK kind of environment where there isn't, well, even then, back then, and maybe even now, there wasn't much around, and there wasn't a good appetite, and you kind of talk to people about coaching, and people do look at you funny, you know, is that some, you know, like Sarah's saying, is that some sort of woo-woo thing, or is that some weird thing, you know, is it because you're not well or something? And so it was like where I kind of got into Tony Robbins's kind of his seminars, what he was teaching, and that's where I realized actually, you know, what he's saying is right, and where he was able to pick people up from the audience and give them that coaching. And I was like, wow, that was a game changer for me. Thinking, well, actually, even in the space of a few minutes, like you were saying, Sarah, even in the space of a few minutes, he's able to understand what people are really after, not even the super thing on top, the superficial thing on top. It's actually the deep down, or actually why do they want that, and solve that issue, and have a plan for that. I was like, yes, I need a coach to be able to get me to that. I can't just read about it and then apply it. It has to be something where someone's talking to me, and I'm, you know, held accountable for that.
What do you think was some of the key shifts for you, Assad, between, because you said you kind of got into the personal development journey quite a lot of years ago. When did it shift between just motivation and inspiration and just learning and kind of seeing a different way? When did that actually start to shift into real tangible results, and what was it that enabled those results to start coming?
So I think the shift, I can probably safely say that it was in applying those, you know, and kind of embracing those things that people, you know, the coaches were saying, the videos were going on about, or whatever the steps were, the action plans. It was embracing those, and for me, it was getting motivation. But when the moment I invested, I put kind of the money where my mouth is, kind of thing, and really, you know, put some money into it, got a coach, and invested in some of these courses. That's when that changed for me, and then that's when things started to change as well. So you know, behaviors, habits, and then, you know, tangible results as well, kind of came off the back of that.
I just want to speak to that a second. So for anyone listening, as I say, I brought Sarah and Assad on because they are literally living and practicing the message that they preach. You know, they're not just coaches themselves looking to help others. They first and foremost, way before that, have been on their own journey. And the difference between them and the majority of people that will listen to this is they've actually, as Assad rightly said, acted on what they've learned. And I just want to talk a little bit about, if you want to call it the psychology behind that. The trap that we've all got to be aware of is when you get inspiration, or you learn something new, or you're told, like, for example, you know, here's 10 steps to have a better day, or whatever. In that moment, you feel better, you feel inspired, you feel more focused. So you've got to remember, all our goals in life are based on emotion. If you're feeling a little bit down and you put on, for example, this episode of the Rich in Success podcast, or you head over to YouTube and watch a motivational video, it's going to change your state. It's going to, and ultimately change the way you feel. Now, the trap so many fall into is it's now mission accomplished. I now feel more positive than I did at the beginning of consuming that content. Therefore, the desire to act on it has actually reduced by the end of listening to it. So I think something that's so important, we all talk about, Assad, Sarah, and myself, is it all starts with consciously working on self-awareness. So I want you, if you're listening to this now, ask the question, what are you going to do as a result of listening to this immediately after? And be consciously aware of making a decision to do, even if it's one thing that you hadn't planned on doing before listening to this podcast, make a decision and then commit to it. That's how you're going to get results. And we've got to keep on, it's almost like a rinse and repeat cycle. We've got to keep on calling ourselves out ultimately and go, am I just kind of, I can't think of a better analogy that doesn't sound disgusting. So in particular, because we've got ladies present, close your ears, Sarah. The only thing I can think of is mental masturbation, right? Is it feels like, oh yeah, we've just got all this positivity and then we don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So how do we counter that? We like pause the podcast now and go, what's something I'm going to do today that I hadn't planned on doing, but by listening to these three speak now, I'm going to commit to doing it. That's really important. Something I think that's really important to discuss as well is, not just talk about the successes and the wins. We should also talk about the hard times, because I've just literally got off the phone to a client now who's really struggling. And he's like, I think I need to take a bit of time out of this coaching, come back when I'm a bit more ready. And I said, that's fine. This is your decision. But ultimately, we all hear this a lot in personal development, that it's the hard times, it's the adversity, and it's when you're overwhelmed and stressed, it's how you respond that will determine the outcome more than any other point in your life. In other words, we can all be good when we feel good, but it's the change in behavior when we feel bad. So if your previous behavioral pattern is to retreat, is to go quiet, is to take a month off, the things that you know are going to put you back on track and progress you, that's the thing to work on. But when you're actually going through it, it's the hardest thing to do. But what I always urge people to remember is easy choices equal a harder life. Harder choices will equal an easier life long term. So I want us all to just talk a little bit about that. Sarah, what for you have maybe been some of the biggest, most challenging times for you personally on this journey? And the important bit really is, how have you grown through that?
I think, oh my gosh, that's a really big question. There's so many times that I've caught myself, even just small things like, oh, I've dealt with that differently than what I would have done before. And other times I haven't even noticed I've dealt with things differently, and it's been days later I've been like, oh, I didn't get stressed about that. And it's little things like that, and then that makes me smile, because there's so many things. Even taking part in this podcast today, 5 months ago I would never have done this, and I would never have even kind of gone, yeah, maybe. It would have been an out and out, no, not doing that. But I think doing the work that I do and working with people that I work with, and obviously working with yourself, it's easier to break things down and chunk things down. And it's a must. As soon as I learned that, when I was doing my NLP stuff, chunk it down, I was like, that's really simple. Yeah, just break everything down into tiny little bits, and then just do it one step at a time, which sounds so ridiculously obvious, but the amount of people that don't know to do that, and I didn't know to do that, it sounds really, really obvious, but until you get into the habit of doing that, it needs to be a habit, I think. It's a skill as well. I would say go as far as saying it's a skill, and it's one of those things that's really helped me to break everything down. And I know, like you say it a lot to me, it's like, just chunk it down, it's fine. And then I go, oh yeah, and then just have a little sigh of relief and go, oh, that's easy now, I can do that now. So,
and it is, and it's what you said there, Sarah. People only know what they know. And the thing that I keep on reiterating, when I'm working with you guys or when I'm doing this show, is we're not in a system that makes us, and when I say system, I mean, you know, the schooling, the education system, and kind of the work system, you know, our careers.
Yeah.
We're not actively having this conversation. We're not encouraged to talk about mindset, personal development, and better managing yourself and your daily routine. We're just told, you know, go to maths class, go to geography, you know, have a fallout with your friend and whatever. And there's no emphasis on the emotional quotient that we speak about and the self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And so, yes, once you're told it, it's obvious. But it's like, but until you're told it, it's actually not. And there's no, again, there's no win in knowing it and being like, oh, that was obvious. It's like, well, are you doing it? Because the win comes from doing it. What about you, Assad?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose a lot of things there, and you know, what I found is that you know, and it's with a lot of people. I mean, yourself as well. When we've spoken, Matt, you know, you kind of fall in that fallacy of thinking, well, actually, you know, now I've been coached a lot, or now I am a coach, then everything is all, you know, you know, roses and sunshine and all hunky dory and stuff. But it isn't, you know, and everyone can have those ups and those downs. And you know, I think for me, there was a lot of darkness, you know, around even when I was on this personal development journey, and I wasn't in a good place. Hence, I needed this, but ultimately, kind of got into a lot of debt around personal development, but other things I was doing, and other places and that wasn't helping me at all. And you know, what I kind of thought about was, well, it's all about this personal development. It's all about this, you know, what I'm doing now. That's what caused all of this. You know, if I was okay before, but now I've gone to this personal development journey, I've kind of signed up to some of these courses and I'm trying to do some things. That's got me down and that's got me into debt where I didn't need to be. But so for a long time, I kind of thought about it as that, you know, and was still down, and I wasn't getting any help, and I wasn't even applying any of the things that I learned, because I thought that it was this that caused it. That caused, you know, the debt, and obviously then the fighting and everything else at home, and you know, being miserable all the time and not being able to afford anything. But you know, I think that was like one of the darkest moments that I had in my life. And then the way kind of out of that was, you know, it was counterintuitive, because it was about doing the things I thought weren't helping me. It was about applying those things. It was about taking that kind of, in that sense, when I was in debt, in that kind of like brave step of saying, well, okay, I'm going to invest in, I didn't have money to invest, but I'm going to invest in a coach that's going to help me out of that. And then again, like you know, like Sarah was saying, it's common sense. So I've paid all this money, and the coach is telling me some, you know, common sense stuff like chunk things down, take your time, take some deep breaths, and those kinds of things. But I knew that, you know, this was the right way. So applying those things, you know, it got me through a lot of that.
You just touched on something there. I'm interested in what you both think, but would you both agree, like, a lot of time when you start working on personal development, and indeed investing money that you've not invested before in yourself, often the thought patterns you go through and the emotional patterns you go through, is it kind of gets worse before it starts to get better.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. You see things, you kind of see, you're more self-aware, so you see all your kind of faults and all the things that you're doing wrong and all your bad habits. And then for me, that was a lot of bad habits that I picked up, and I was like, oh my God, you know, this isn't going to be easy to solve at all.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree, because there's so many things that you learn on the journey that you kind of think, oh, I do that, and I'm here telling clients, well, maybe that's probably not the best way of doing things, but then you kind of sit back and think, actually, I'm still doing some of that. It is all a big journey, isn't it, really? And you have to take each day as it comes with all of it.
Yeah, you're right. Let me turn that around, Matt. What was one of your things that you thought, well, you didn't think that was one of your worst things that came out of this? What was that when you went on your own personal journey?
So for me, it was like at the beginning, it was this, it's kind of follows on from the conversation we've had, where I've got this ambition. I know the action steps to take, but I'm frustrated because I've got fear around, like, for example, I needed to quit one of my jobs and, you know, and I needed to start to be more consistent. So it's that fear of stepping into the unknown. It's all well and good knowing it, but you still feel fear, and that can still hold you back. And actually, it was getting a coach for me that instilled confidence. And I say this a lot to clients. I say, like, even if at the beginning you don't quite fully believe in yourself yet, please at least trust and believe in me at this stage. Because sometimes we need that initial push and belief from somewhere else to start the catalyst of believing in ourselves. And sometimes it's just trusting someone else, taking massive action, and then through the results, you then start to go, oh shit, why didn't I do this 10 years ago or whatever? And I think just touching on the subject we're speaking about there, about it getting worse before it gets better, I've probably said it to both of you at some point early on working with each other, is it's about, again, that awareness of it's okay for it to get worse before it gets better. Because otherwise, it's a little bit like, you know, going into the gym, working out, it being a really hard workout, and then going, I don't look any better, this is shit, I'm quitting. It's like, stick with the pain, consistently work through the pain day after day. Because what happens is you shine a torch, if you're doing personal development right, on all your perceived weaknesses. And that isn't nice. That, like, the ego gets involved, right? And you're like, I don't like looking at this. But in looking at it, you can start to identify how to change it. So I think that's a really, really important message, is don't expect it to all be fun and games. And I think this is something I'm passionate about in educating people on. A lot of the Americanized, you know, promotion of personal development is how we would call happy clappy. It's people with smiles on their faces, having these big breakthroughs and saying, I'm free, I know who I am, I know my purpose in the life, and all that kind of stuff. The reality is it might actually be 6 months of regular, you know, feeling quite down, you know, crying often. I don't think you've ever cried on a session yet, Assad. I feel like you definitely have, Sarah. I know I have. Yeah, every session. That's just because you got to see me again, isn't it? But it is. But I would always reframe that and go, that's an indicator I'm doing the true personal development work. I'm having the courage to ask the difficult questions and confront them rather than hide from them, ignore them, or indeed, you know, do things to completely avoid them. So for you guys, I think when I get asked, what's the biggest thing that holds people back? My kind of go-to answers are lack of self-belief and fear. So fear of other people's judgment, fear that it won't work, fear that they might make it work and be unhappy. So why change? Why not just stay as I am? So that kind of fear and that fear of judgment and that lack of self-belief, what would you say are kind of some ways to overcome that and to confront it and keep moving forward regardless?
Sarah, you want to go with that?
Yeah, I was just going to say,
we have a fear of answering the question.
the fear of giving the right answer.
Yeah.
No, I think there's quite a lot to say around that. That was kind of like, oh, which scenario do I choose? I think fear of being yourself, if you don't exactly know who that is a big thing. And I think from having a coach, you can kind of work out who are you, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to become someone completely different. And I know for me personally, I actually am more like who I was when I was 19 now, and that's me being me, not me who I think the world should see.
That's massive. It's massive because we all put on these masks
Yeah.
And because we want to fit in, we want to be liked, or whatever the reasons might be. And that's absolutely beautiful just to hear you say that, to be honest. It's like, actually, I've rediscovered and realigned with the more authentic, truthful version of me. And I only believe that's going to help you serve others better, being that way, which means flawed, which means you're not perfect, but it means you know who you are and you're aware of those flaws and you can manage them. And I think that's amazing. How about for you, Assad?
Yeah, I think, I think social media has kind of played on that fear, because I think everyone has that mask, like you said, everyone's portraying themselves as perfect, and everyone's taking 20, 30 minutes to have that kind of Instagram photo taken and go through and polish that up and show yourself in the best light, your holidays, your pets and what have you in the best light, and you're forced to conform to that high standard, that fake standard. And that's what exacerbates the fear, because now you're thinking, well, I'm not anywhere near that. And then if I now start saying I've got flaws, and whereas the person next to me is perfect, then that's just going to make me, lose the crowd I'm in, make me lose friends, lose the happiness that I have. And I think that is probably, it's not helping the fear, and it's making it worse. And I think, like Sarah was saying, you kind of have to embrace that, and you have to say, well, that's what's going to happen. But I want to be happy, because ultimately people aren't happy doing that, aren't happy, kind of going through, and their lives on Facebook might be perfect, but they're not happy. And if you really want that happiness, then you have to go through and learn who you are, understand who you are, and be, in the end, be who you are. And the only way you do that is having that self-discovery, going through, investing in yourself. And that might not necessarily mean money. It might mean time, and kind of getting down and going to some of those dark places, like, actually, who am I? What do I want in life? Where am I going? What do I like? What do I not like? And kind of then trying to live a life that's more kind of aligned with that.
You touched on social media there, and it just made me think of this fantastic quote that that Stephen Bartlett said, and that is that social media has made it has made perfection look normal. So that normal is now disposable, and I think that's such an important thing to keep remembering, is that filtered life that we're all exposed to isn't normal. It isn't real. And stop comparing against everybody else. Start comparing against yourself. Have I improved? Am I making good choices? Am I making better decisions than I used to? That's the only thing to truly put your energy and focus onto. Just before we sort of start to wrap up, I want you to share what has been some of the main things that coaching has given you. Like, what are some of the main things that have changed for you, some of the main achievements? And importantly, how coaching helped you achieve it. What was it about specifically having your own personal coach that enabled you to start achieving those things you've achieved?
Oh, wow. I think that is a really interesting question, because that's kind of the one of the reasons why I have become a coach and want to help other people out, is because I've seen through that journey how things have changed for me. A lot of things that have changed are internal. So, the self-confidence, self-belief, we touched on those things, thinking about like fear and how we react to fear, or how we treat fear, in the right way. So, it's a lot of it's been internal, how I've been able to get more confident in what I do in life, and how I know how to interact with people, being more aligned to who I am really, which ultimately makes me more happier and fulfilled. And I think, the things that it has done kind of extrinsically, so outside of that is, things like I said, I was able to get myself out of debt. I was like, not just a little bit of debt, it was £30,000 of debt I pulled myself out of. I was able to then, on top of that, buy a bigger house, and then have 3, like I said, properties that I rent out as well. So that, was something that I didn't even plan. That wasn't part of my goals, but that came through that. And other things were about kind of that body transformation where I'm kind of in the best shape of my life. And I've been able to do that. And how I've done that with the coach is kind of the best part of it, is because it's all about me and my journey, my goals, and what the coach does and what you've done, Matt, is kind of guide me through what I need to do, showing me how I can get to those steps. You know, like we said before, kind of chunking it down. How do I chunk all of that down? How do I need to take the next step? What do I need to do? What do I not need to think about? And because you're a few steps ahead of me, you're telling me about the potential pitfalls and blockers and things like that might just cause me some problems, and be aware of them. But then you're keeping, coach keeps you accountable for those decisions that you've made, where, before I've had it, where you make New Year's resolutions and you think, well, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to join the gym, I'm going to go 3 times a week. And you might even go with a friend or something. But then, a week, 2 weeks later, a month later, it just drops off, and you kind of like look around and you think, well, no one's telling me to go, so I'm all right, and then you kind of just take yourself off the hook. But what a coach does is it says, well, we've made this decision. This is why we're doing it. Reminds me why I'm doing this, and tells me, get up, and get it done. And that's been like the massive change for me.
Sarah?
Yeah. Wow, Assad. I would agree, because my kind of way into coaching was a little bit different, because obviously I've been a sports coach for over a decade. So that style of coaching, I was kind of already in it, knew what I was doing, all of that. And then I did all my practitioner stuff, and at the end of practitioner, I booked literally I was like, yeah, I've passed, and then I paid and booked for Master Prac, because it was just like I didn't want it to stop. I wanted more. I wanted to know more, because at the time that I did that, I thought, well, as soon as the rink's back open, I can take all of this knowledge and put it back in the rink, and then I can make my lessons better for my skaters and better for the team. And that was kind of my aim with it to start with. And then from that, it just snowballed into this, well, if I can do that in the rink, I can do that for lots of other people. And then it was like a really exciting thought of, I can actually do this on a much wider scale, and help way many more people. So that's where that came in for me. And then I went through all of I'm going to set up a business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and got really excited about it. And then when it actually came to doing it, I was like, oh, actually, it's a bit scary now, a little bit weird. And then I stumbled across your videos on Instagram, and I started watching the way that you coach. And I was like, oh, there was something, I don't know what it was about what you were doing, but it really resonated with me, of being like, actually, I need that. It was kind of like, I need a bit of a kick up the bum, and I need to be accountable to someone that's not going to let me off the hook. If I just go, oh, I wasn't feeling very well, you're not the kind of coach to go, well, okay, don't worry. You'll work it out, and there's always a way of still getting the things done. And I think that's what I needed at that time. And then going back into the rink, I still take all this knowledge now. I can take that with me wherever I go. And it's brilliant, the amount of people that can ask me questions and I can help, and it's a genuine help, and not a, well, I think possibly this and I think possibly that. It is a serious, well, have you tried this? And it's not a solution, it's I'm going to help you find your own solution. And I think that's what I really like about it, is that, and the accountability of actually having a coach myself helps me then know how to make other people accountable.
I think that's so important. I think anyone listening to this, if you're a parent, that's there, trying to guide and coach your children, your family, if you're a teacher, if you're a personal trainer, if you're a coach, if you're a business owner trying to lead a team, all these different roles and responsibilities require you to have the answers and the solutions for other people. And I just think, more than ever, you're the people that need someone to help you. Doing it alone is really, really difficult. And I think this time of year as well, people can still be a little bit cynical about coaching and be like, well, I don't see many people having coaches, I'm still not sure about it. There's something I've been speaking about this morning on social media that I just want to give to the listeners today and say, look, this time of year, there's so many distractions. You know, everybody's eating more chocolate, everybody's drinking more alcohol, everybody's going to more, obviously I'm generalizing, but generally this is what the vast majority of people are doing. They're going to more parties, there's more cheese and more wine, and we're not just talking about the government. And what we've got here is it's so easy to stop doing the things that we know make us feel good mentally, physically, and emotionally. We stop focusing on our goals and making progress. We stop eating healthy. We stop working out. We stop getting fresh air and going for walks. And instead we replace that with eating more junk food, you know, less hydration, less sleep, more parties. Now, I keep saying, I'm all for the parties. Like, I am going to be partying this Christmas. You know, I will definitely be getting pissed. But this is the message I just want to leave listeners with. Like, if you genuinely desire more for yourself, if you genuinely want to, as Sarah and Assad and myself are on this journey of improving, of being better, and with that, we mean like genuinely feeling more aligned, fulfilled, and happy within our own skin. If that's what you want, recognize that you're going to have to do something different to the vast majority of people. I spoke about it in our WhatsApp group this morning. I've spoke about it online. This sounds controversial. It can sound quite nasty and quite rude, but if you actually look at it factually and statistically, when you look at, let's say, for example, the UK, the vast majority of people, the high percent of people are not well off financially. The vast majority of people are not in great shape, fit and healthy. You know, there's a lot of obesity, there's a lot of health problems that are lifestyle related. The vast majority of people are not particularly confident, do not have high levels of self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem. And what I see is the vast majority of people are not genuinely in fulfilling, loving, and honest relationships. We're seeing more divorces than ever before, more dishonesty, a lot more cheating, and that kind of thing. So my message is simple. Take a moment to reflect on that today and ask, do you want to be like the vast majority of people? Are those the sort of results you want in your life? Or do you want better? And if the answer is, I want better, understand you have to decide today that you have to be better in order to get better results, which means being more disciplined than Sandra in the workplace, offering you an extra chocolate, you know, making more sacrifices in the short term so that you can have better results in the long term. It means making harder decisions, but then you will start to get results that fewer people get and find genuine fulfillment and happiness. And this is something we're all passionate about. Final question, sort of before we wrap up. If anyone's listening to all that and it resonates and it makes sense, but they're still on the fence 50-50 about making, and it is a big investment for a lot of people, they're still 50-50 about investing in actually taking that next step and going all in and hiring a coach. What would be just a couple of words you'd give people to just encourage them as to why it might be a good decision for them?
I think, you know, what you said about, you know, generally the vast amount of people, the majority of people aren't doing this. So it's about, you know, that isn't necessarily normal. And obviously, like we talked about before, you know, if you don't want to be normal, these are the things that you have to do. It is, you know, it is kind of the starting point of it. And if you want to stay where you are, you know, and in 5 years' time, be where you are, and kind of, you know, be around the friends that are the same, and in a place, you know, in the job that you don't like, then just go about doing your normal things. If you want something different, this is a genuine path to get you there. And so investing in a coach, investing in yourself is the way to get there. So that's what I'd say to them.
Yeah, I'd kind of add, I always ask the question of, if you don't do this,
yeah,
what are you getting by not doing it?
Yeah.
And there's always a way, there's always different, well, like you yourself, you do free workshops, free seminars, and we all do that kind of stuff. So there's always access to a coach, and there's different levels of access to a coach, granted, but there's always access to something, some form of stuff. The free content that we all put out, there's always a way. If you want to make it work, you'll make it work. And that's,
yeah, but the decision is yours. You've got to be willing to.
Got to come from that. Yeah.
You've got to be coachable, and you've got to be willing to be open-minded and put in the work. Sarah, Assad, you are both absolute stars. I just want to say, from me to you, you know, as somebody who's worked with you, I think Assad, we're about a year into working together now. Sarah, around 6 months, is it, that we've been working? Almost?
Yeah, about 6 months, yeah.
And, you know, working with you pretty much at some point on a daily basis, whether it be on WhatsApp and what have you. I just want to say to anyone listening that these two are genuinely the real deal, in the sense that you genuinely do the hard work. You consistently show up. No matter what's going on, you are honest about where you're at with it. And you're always focusing on what's the solution? How can I be better? How can I do better? And I just want to say thank you to you both, because, as I said right at the start of this session, we're not in a session, this podcast, bloody hell. I'm not coaching. As I said right at the beginning of this episode, you know, I can give all the advice and support in the world, but I'm only as good as my clients are. And you two, you know, you make me look good. So thank you very much for being great clients. Just before we finish, Sarah, Assad, if people want to check you out online and they want to learn a bit more about you and follow your content, tell them, where do they find you? How do they find you?
Find me on Facebook, and it's Sarah Carter, the Mindset Coach. And Instagram, it's Sarah_the Mindset Coach.
Yeah, for me, same again, Facebook and Insta where I'm at. So on Facebook, it's Assad F. Munir, and same with Insta as well. So you'll catch me both on there.
You've both been fantastic. Final question that I ask all my guests on this show. We'll start with Sarah and then we'll go to Assad. What is your definition of success?
I think my definition of success is feeling happy and content with myself and how I am.
Beautiful. Yeah. Assad?
And for me, it's probably similar to that. It's being, you know, kind of feeling that kind of fulfillment, because, you know, you're doing what you want to do when you want to do it with who you want to do it with. So it's being in that control of your life.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I have nothing to add other than thank you both.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for that.